welcome to West Indian Wednesday. It's been a long time since I've been on here with a West Indian Wednesday video, but I'm here now, 2020, so big things are happening. For those of you who are not yet subscribers to my channel, please go ahead and take this second to go ahead and subscribe. Also click the notification bell so that whenever I have a new upload, you will be able to come on over right away and see what I'm up to. Yes, for today's West Indian Wednesday, normally I try to keep West Indian Wednesdays, light and fun and all this good stuff. And I normally do things such as West Indian sayings and slangs and things like that. But lately as in over the past year or so, I've been really thinking about, certain things that I noticed a trend with the Caribbean in terms of a few things. As primarily some of you may know, I'm from Antigua and Barbuda, which is in the Eastern Caribbean, and our main industry is actually tourism, like many other Caribbean countries. Now, in light of some things that have been going on over the past few years in terms of natural disasters, more recently outbreaks, within different countries, health outbreaks I'm referring to, and but primarily for the Caribbean region, we've been hit over the past few years with a lot of natural disasters, primarily hurricanes, and to a lesser extent earthquakes. Before I continue any further, guys, just to let you guys know that I'm wearing my braces, my Invisalign braces today, so excuse my speech if it sounds a bit, a bit slurred or a bit funny. But yes, as I was saying, over the past few years, many of the Caribbean islands have been hit with primarily hurricanes. A few years ago, I think it was 2017 or 2018, Antigua's sister island, Barbuda, was hit by a major hurricane, and over 90% of the island was pretty much inhabitable. Many homes were destroyed. People actually lost their lives as well. I think there's one person who lost their life in Barbuda, but even one life is too much. Lives are precious. And we also had, in that same season, the hurricane went on to hit Dominica very badly, as well as Puerto Rico. And from all accounts from the news and various other media, Puerto Rico is still struggling to recover from that hurricane, as is Barbuda as well. And there were also a few other islands along the chain that were hit by that hurricane, and a few other hurricanes in between then. Most recently, we all know about the devastating hurricane that hit the Bahamas last year as well. And I know that they are recovering, but they're still in the recovery process. And like Antigua and quite a few other Caribbean islands, their primary industry is also tourism. So, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and, I don't want to speak in general too much, because even though I've lived on one or two other Caribbean islands, I still don't want to speak for those islands. When I speak and I give references, I'm primarily referring to my own home country. But I know that what I say, or what I'm thinking about and what I'll be talking about also goes for a few other islands as well. But my biggest thing that I've been thinking about is the dependence that so many islands have on tourism as their main source of income. Primarily, my island as well. It's all great that we have such a fantastic tourism product. The people of my country and the people of other Caribbean countries are usually so warm and welcoming and opening to visitors. And West Indians in general just have a very friendly, cool, laid back vibes, laid back to an extent until it's time for us to, lime and party and carnival and fete and have a good time. Then you really see us turn up. So just the warmth and the generosity of Caribbean people, I think, is what primarily draws visitors and tourists to our shores. But that, coupled with our natural beauty, provides for an excellent tourism product. Most Caribbean countries can boast of, sun, sea, and sand, and other natural resources, rainforests, rivers, all that type of stuff. And so it's small wonder that people are attracted to this region of the world, and we welcome them. We welcome them with open arms, and we love to share our islands with visitors. And we feel very proud when people visit our shores and they enjoy it and they have a good time, and they become repeat visitors as well, until they almost feel like they're part of the family. There's some people who visit the same hotels for years, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They just keep going because they like it and that's what they know, and then the locals develop a relationship with them and all this kind of stuff. So all that is great, and we welcome tourists from whatever part of the world, whether you come on a cruise ship or you come by a plane. We welcome you. However, I think I've been noticing that whereas back in the days, and not like I'm so old, but I know that back in the day, many Caribbean islands, well, I'll speak for the Eastern Caribbean islands, used to be very independent in terms of their food supply. And they had a thriving agricultural product and a fantastic agro industry. I know that for the Eastern Caribbean and part of the Windward Caribbean, there are certain islands who used to provide bananas, to the UK and the European market, and to the American market as well, to a lesser extent, and also intra-regionally, like to each other, we provide food to each other. I know for a fact that Dominica is one of the closest islands to Antigua. It's not the closest, but it's one of the closest islands to Antigua, and it's one of the islands that Antigua has like a sense of what's what I'm looking for, like a sense of it's like Dominicans are like family to Antiguans, because our relationship goes way back. There are many Dominicans who are living in Antigua and have been for years, many Antiguans who are from Dominican heritage and things like that. And I remember, as a child growing up, that Dominica used to provide Antigua with lots of vegetables, like particular types, because while Antigua used to grow and export vegetables in general, like the ones that we weren't strong in, or that we couldn't grow well or we didn't grow enough of, we used to receive a lot of that from Dominica, and especially like the mangoes, and we still get a lot of mangoes from Dominica, even though Antigua has a thriving mango crop as well. And we used to get food from St. Vincent. You get your breadfruit and your arrowroot powder and different things like that. But I remember as a child that there were a lot of exports by the Caribbean islands. And I know that when the UK came into an agreement with the EU, the term of the agreement is skipping my mind right now, but I think it has something to do with free trade among Europe as opposed to outside, or promoting inter-European trade primarily, as opposed to importing certain things from the Caribbean. And I don't remember the name of the band, and I probably should have done my research before I came on here, but I didn't really plan this. I just thought I'm just going to talk about this right now. But whatever that agreement was, and if I remember it before I upload this, I'll put a link in the description box below. But that agreement pretty much crippled the agricultural industry for a lot of Caribbean islands. I know Jamaica, St. Vincent, Dominica, to a lesser extent Antigua, and some others who used to depend on the UK to import our bananas and other products. When that agreement was put in place between UK and the EU, it basically just cut our agricultural exports by a massive percentage. And then shortly after that, a few hurricanes went through the region, destroyed crops and things like that, but those things spring back rather quickly. But yeah, I specifically remember that as a period in which agricultural export from the region, at least from the Eastern Caribbean and the Windward Islands region, was severely affected. But within the past few years, with the amount of hurricanes that have been hitting the Caribbean and to further afield to like the Bahamas, which technically isn't in the Caribbean, but we still claim them. We still claim. But as I was saying, with the passages of the hurricanes that have been devastating the region, from Bahamas to Puerto Rico to Antigua to St. Vincent to Dominica, St. Lucia, just about every island has been touched in some way or form by a hurricane. And I know that hurricanes used to come, like major hurricanes that did any sort of damage would come maybe like once every 10 years, once every 5 years. And now it's like every year, every other year, like massive storms are hitting the islands, like category 5s, category 4, category 5. And there was a point in time when the last one was so big they weren't even sure if it was still considered a category 5. But in light of these things, I've been thinking, and I know a lot of people probably have also been thinking, how sustainable is the tourism product? Sorry, I got a piece of something in my eye here. But how sustainable is our tourism product when, we are constantly being battered by these mega storms due to climate change? And may I add that the Caribbean is probably one of the least offending regions of the world to contribute to climate change, but we're one of the most affected regions of the world from climate change. But that's for another video. So I was wondering, like, how sustainable is our tourism product if, when we're hit by major hurricanes, we are down, so to speak, for, months at a time. And there are many people in the islands who are employed by the hotels, taxi association, adventure tours, all these things, restaurants, all these things that are linked to the tourism product. And it really makes you think that, we should also look into revamping, redeveloping, reinvesting into our agricultural product. Food security is important, especially in the world that we're living in right now. Food security, a country that can't feed itself is going to be in dire straits. Not only are you going to be importing, you're also exposing yourself to consuming food products that are of, God knows what type of standard and what sort of chemicals are being used to, grow and develop these plants and vegetables and things like that. So if you're not producing enough food to sustain your country and its people, a large percent of your country's expense is going to be, towards importation. And I think that a lot of countries need to look at cutting their food import bill. I know that for some countries, a food import bill is like almost half of their GDP. That's crazy, And so I think that governments should look into investment into agriculture. I know that there's a point in time where a lot of countries sought to move away from agriculture and to embrace tourism, because then that was what the future trend was looking like tourism is going to be the way to go to sustain these countries. And I think tourism will always be there to some extent, but as we can see by the way the world is going now and the way the climate is behaving, I think it would behoove us to realize that we cannot solely depend on tourism as a primary source, but we should look into diversifying our product. There's a saying that my grandmother, and I'm sure many other households have heard, it's something they would always say to females, to girls, but it can apply to anyone. It's all well and good to look nice and to be attractive and things like that, but what else do you have to offer besides your looks? It's great being pretty or handsome and being attractive. What else do you have to offer? And that's kind of how I feel when it comes to some of the Caribbean islands and their industries. Nature has blessed us as a region with bountiful beauty, you know, flora, fauna, the people, the beaches, all of that. We've been blessed with that. We didn't have to do anything to create that. That was just, you know, that's just a given. That's what we have to work with. But we have to have more than a beautiful island, nice beaches to offer. Not just to offer others, but for ourselves. We have to have more than that for ourselves. So if you were to know someone or have a friend that, you know, all they were into or all they had to offer, you know, was their looks, you might say, well, you know, it's nice, you know, that you have good looks and you're attractive and all of that, but looks fade and you know, the body crumbles. So what else do you have going on for yourself? What else can you have to offer? And that's kind of how I think about the region, you know. As climate change has shown us, as these hurricanes have shown us, as pretty as our islands are, all it takes is a category 4 to category 5 hurricane to just decimate our trees, decimate our coastal lines, wreck our mangroves, and other than that, what do we have to offer, you know? And so I think that some investments need to be made, and for the islands who are offering citizenship by investment or encouraging investors to come to their country, can we have some stipulations to those investments to also include invest into more manufacturing industries? Can some of these islands start making things for themselves? You know, how about that? Can we invest in some recycling plants so that the islands are not constantly creating new dump fields or overrunning their existing dump fields? Can we have investors to come and invest in fiber optics and have these islands running internet at reasonable speeds? Can we have some investors come and invest in infrastructure for our roads, proper drainage? Can they come and invest in methods of water storage, more desalination plants to convert salt water into potable water? Can we have more investors to come and invest in maybe creating solar panels so that the islands can go more green? We're blessed with sunshine almost 360 out of 365 days a year. Can we utilize that to run our electricity grid and cut down on our consumption to electricity? Can we have that? Can we have more investment into improving our educational product, the physical buildings of schools? Can we construct more of those? Can we have investors to come and just invest in the country, where the country benefits more than investing in hotels and amusement for the tourists? You know, locals like amusements too, you know, and yes, we sometimes use and participate in the activities that our guests enjoy, but we shouldn't always be looking to do things for visitors. Can we do some things for ourselves? Can we invest in ourselves as well, you know? So these are some of the things that have been running through my head, and also with, as we can see, with the increasing arrivals of hurricanes, can we also invest in some some sort of, well, maybe you can speak to the environmental groups or authorities in each country to reclaim our coastlines in those countries where developers are, you know, dredging away our coastlines, taking the sand to go and make construction, and then when the hurricanes hit, they're coming further and further inland. They're damaging the beaches. Some beaches that you used to know that had maybe 3-4 miles of sand now have 2 or 1 or a quarter mile, because, you know, every bad hurricane season, the sea and the land is being reclaimed because the mangroves are no longer there to keep the ecosystem together. Can we have some investment in that? You know, at the end of the day, how many hotels can one island hold? How many? And even if you can hold 1,000 hotels, would you want to? Would you want to? Because at any one point in time, what's the maximum occupancy of these hotels? You know, I don't, maybe somebody can tell me, but yeah, I don't know. And I might have to make this a part 2 because I feel like this video is getting very long. But these are some things I've been thinking, and I'm sorry if my thoughts are all over the place, and if this isn't the happy, joy West Indian Wednesday that you were looking for. But you know, every once in a while we can get serious, and we can really look at things, and we need to think about what sort of legacy we're leaving for our children coming up behind us. It's not okay to just think that, especially for the 35 years old and older, you know, it's not good enough to just think, well, by the time this really happens, or you know, this climate thing hits, or this happens or that happens, I'll be old and gray. What happened to the young people? You know, what sort of island or country are they going to inherit? You know, so we have to start thinking ahead and thinking big, thinking bigger than our tourism product and our entertainment value, and just really look into preservation, food security, conservation, environmental things. Because at the end of the day, we only have, you know, that island isn't going anywhere. We can leave that island before that island disappears from this earth. And so I think we should make it the best island, the best country that we can. And the way you do that is by investing in your people, by securing your country, securing your way of life, helping and sustaining your environment of the country that you live in, and really just doing your part. We're all good for fêtes and bacchanals and carnivals and winding up and all this kind of stuff and drinking our rum, but can we be, you know, can we be about a bit more than that? You know, can we think, you know, can we think further down the road? My island people, my Caribbean people, you know, where's the long-term vision? Where's the long-term vision? It's 2020. Let's find it. Peace. See you guys next time.